If you would have noticed on Twitter, Michael Jordan's name is trending, and I'm happy to say it is for all the right reasons. I believe we are in agreement with that, as he has said that he wanted to speak out now. He cannot stay silent anymore. We'll get to Jason in a minute for the full quote on all the things that's been going on in the United States. The Black Lives Matter movement, police brutality, the killings in Dallas, all the atrocities that's happened in this country. And I know we often don't like to cross over sports and politics, but I feel this is an important clip to highlight when a staple of the basketball industry, a staple of sports in general, has came out with a very, just a very knowledgeable and well thought out statement that I wish I could just print out and plaster at every Republican convention, every Democratic convention, and just put around every single car in the United States so that people can understand he can actually be for both sides.
You say plastered at the conventions, where that would actually be newsworthy given what happens at these conventions. The circus is in town. As for what Michael Jordan said, and keep in mind also, this comes not too long after, even though it has not really anything to do with this, but they moved the All-Star game out of his team's, the team he owns city.
Yeah.
So I just found that, again, he doesn't want to stay silent, even though this has to do exactly with what you're talking about. Quote, as a proud American, a father who lost his own dad in a senseless act of violence, and a black man, I have been deeply troubled by the deaths of the African Americans at the hands of law enforcement and angered by the cowardly and hateful targeting and killing of police officers. I grieve with the families who have lost loved ones, as I know their pain all too well. He used the letter, so this is separate from, this is all from the Undefeated.com, by the way, which did a fantastic job with this. He used the letter to also announce grants of $1 million each to 2 organizations working to build trust between law enforcement and the community in which they work, the Institute for Community Police Relations, which was launched back in May, and the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, which was established in 1940 to work through the legal system to push for civil rights, became a separate organization for the NAACP in 1957, but they are still closely tied, further research will tell you. Quote, although I know these contributions alone are not enough to solve the problem, I hope the resources will help both organizations make a positive difference. In response to the donations, quote, we're surprised and shocked, but obviously thrilled, said Sherilyn Ifill, the president and director of the Legal Defense Fund. We've been working on these issues for so many years, and it's great to hear that Michael Jordan and his people are aware of our work and are willing to make a contribution. So, yeah, first of all people to speak, not just of all people, but in terms of prominence, Michael Jordan is still one of the most powerhouse names in sports and media that you can throw out there. I mean, he's probably still one of the most recognizable people on the face of the planet. His career speaks for himself, and this is a guy who, was always quick to trash talk, but during his career, ever since he retired from basketball, not the most prominent in new media. Like, not long ago, he got like the what are those treatment at his own basketball camp, and he literally had no idea what that meant. So you can say he's not the most in tune with the new media sense of it, but it's great when you have, first of all, he said it in such few words, which is important. You're not going to rip Michael Jordan out of context for this. People can plaster this in one full Instagram post. Yeah. Instead of what you see too many times is people getting just the media will warp what they want to see out of a full paragraph to fit their storyline. He's clear, concise, and right to the point. And I think it's great that he also acknowledged that it's not the money that's going to make the difference, it's the act that I'm hoping will lead to a difference being made.
Yeah, I mean, it's the part I posted on Twitter as well, it's just that it's such an important message to put across, is that you can have compromise, you can have a conversation, you can meet somewhere in the middle. And I talked to you about this, I must blast everyone's ears around our studio. Like, I'm on the main show now and again, and I don't like to get too involved in politics because it really becomes so hard to bear at times. Like, my head can explode when I see the left use statistical analysis to justify their point, and then the right use statistical analysis to justify their point. And all it is drivel being thrown back and forth to justify the killings of innocent people. That's what it comes to, and I hate it. I can't stand it, because in this country, it's one of the few countries in Western civilization that actually raise kids on political values. Don't even talk about religion. Like, religion will cross over, don't get me wrong. And if you raise your kids on religious values, that's all well and good. But political values play such a huge role when kids are being raised. So they're automatically being raised to think, I'm going to choose one way or the other. There's no kind of free choice of being, all right, I can maybe see what the Democrats are saying on this and the Conservatives are saying on that. I can maybe meet in the middle. And it's so refreshing to have someone as prominent as Michael Jordan to actually state his words is that we need to find solutions to ensure people of color receive fair and equal treatment, and the police officers who put their lives on the line every day to protect us all are respected and supported. You don't have to just be for one side and not the other side. And it's great that it's a sports personality who has justified greatness in everything that he has done. He's the man that had the quotes of saying, he's like, I missed 99% of the shots I took or whatever, but it's all about still wanting to take those shots, and the one that goes in counts. Like all those quotations that just are so uplifting in sports to come over and speak probably the most sense that I've seen in countless statements on both issues, where people are just like, the Black Lives Matter movement's just a way to try and focus in on one group because that's the group that's being oppressed. And then the other side is like, all lives matter is a message that's put across to try and hide us from the overall issue. Like, I don't care. I just want innocent lives to stop being treated like a statistic and actually have a conversation on both. And someone like him stating this is going to get that message out more.
That's an important note, especially because, look, you're allowed to be pro Black Lives Matter and pro-police. Like what you're pointing out here is like you don't have to, just because you're standing up for one thing you believe in doesn't mean you're fully anti something else. And that compromise, for some reason, gets extremely lost in translation, especially with the ongoing conventions, which both sides, it's a circus. It always has been. It's since the days of the beginnings of the conventions in the first place. It's always been a circus. Like I said, they send 4,000 reporters to both of these conventions. They send more reporters to these two events than any other events combined in our country yearly, save for probably the inauguration of our next president. And I would think, like, it's Trump's Super Bowl Media Day, which you would think is the most important holiday in our country. At least some people think that.
Yeah.
And the whole idea is that when you plaster so many reporters in one place, right, they're going to find news. That's not how it works. News is not found, it is broken. It's supposed to be reported. You're supposed to keep that in check. So when someone like Michael Jordan speaks out on this, what I think is great is, I don't know if there's going to be a follow-up from Michael Jordan. We might not hear from him for another year. He's not the type of guy, it's one of those things where less is more in this case, and this will ring on, and he made his contribution, he made his point, and I think he knows, move on.
Yeah.
I made my point, I made my contribution. If this continues to get worse, maybe in a little bit of time, I'll have to do this again.
Yeah.
This is someone who I would think is universally loved in the sports world.
Well, I would hope that people take his post and don't try and strip it for parts. Just take it as what it means. And it is, I hope that there's people out there that won't be taking this post as, oh, Michael Jordan just wants to appeal to both sides. He doesn't want to upset anyone. Because that's another point, Jason, that people happen when you try to play the middle ground.
It's the same like logical fallacy when people are like, they're ripping, that idea that, well, maybe he just wants to be good to both sides.
Exactly. It's the same fallacy that breaks us apart because they think you need to be so focused on one part that you can't actually hear the other side of it. Like, people think that you need to be zoned in on just portraying your thoughts on the Black Lives Matter movement and why that is the right thing to focus on. And if you look at anything else or you sympathize with any other party, that means that you're not really for that party. And that's just an asinine way to look at an outlook on something like this that is such a serious issue. So Michael Jordan here, I just hope that people don't try to strip it for parts and just look at the fact is that this prominent figure who is loved among all around this country has came out and said that, you know what, you can be both. You can look into both sides and you can actually understand, and maybe, just maybe, that small word that actually means so much in our country or should mean so much in this country is compromise.
Sadly,
compromise.
One quick Google search, you can read a couple different headlines and you can see how they they're not really twisting it, but everyone has a different one. Michael Jordan can, quote, no longer stay silent. That's NBC News. Michael Jordan breaks his silence, donates $2 million. That's CNN. E! Online, Michael Jordan can no longer stay silent on police shootings. Philly.com, Michael Jordan speaks out on police violence. This country could be a better place. Michael Jordan says he's donating $2 million to social justice warrior groups. That's an exact example of pretty much ripping a headline from context. It also is, you're adding your own opinion into a headline when it's, again, Michael Jordan, Steph Curry's player back to NBA All-Star game. Too far down the news line. Again, and the one from the Undefeated is, I think, the best because, A, they're the ones to break the story, considering he wrote this statement for that media outlet. Jordan speaks out on shootings of African Americans, police. Standard headline, no clickbait, no mention of money, just his thoughts. how it should be. But unfortunately, for most of the mainstream media and media in general, that doesn't make money.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let us know what you guys think in the comment section below. As always, hit us up on Twitter, Francis_Maxwell, Jason Rubin 91. I know it's been a kind of political heavy few, I would say, days in the channel.
Sports are political and politics are sports.
Sometimes they cross over, and you can always come here to get our unbiased and truthful opinions on G.O.A.T Sports.